everyone, this is Nikki on the design team here at ScrapbookPal. Today we are going to look at the Honeybee Lovely Layers Peony set. And so this set has tons of different layers. I really love how much detail you get with it. But another thing that I love about Honeybee is how they create an area on the front of this so that you can keep up with all of your pieces. So when you pull one of these pieces off, you have an outline. Do you see that there? There's a nice outline where you know how to put that piece back where it goes. And that to me is really important for keeping up with all of these pieces. They have some stickiness to the back side so that you can put your pieces there and you don't have to come up with a way to arrange these on a magnetic sheet. Okay, here's where we're going today. This is the card that I made. We are going to be looking at the layers of this flower. I used this diagram, which is on the website of ScrapbookPal, to help me figure out which layer goes where. My first tip for layering like this is to put it all together and then take your pieces and number them on the back. So doing this for me helps make sure I've got all my pieces together and that I know what I'm doing. In this set, it's nice because it's pretty much by size. You know, your biggest pieces on the back and you're going down in your size of pieces, which makes it pretty easy to layer. But I still like to put a little number on the back of each one because I've got to figure out my colors based on these layers. So I am going to pretend like the sun is hitting the front of my flower. So I want to layer it very similar to the picture that's in the diagram. So for extra help, I flip my pieces over and I put the number of the piece on the back just to be safe while I'm putting it together. As I get more used to this set and as you use this set more, you're not going to need to do this because I said it is pretty much by size. I just want to make sure I have a double check when I'm coloring that I know what I should be doing on each layer. Okay, I'm going to use 4 Copic colors to color these 7 layers. And I'm going to do that and make each layer slightly different by combining colors. So I only have so many markers and I don't have more in this range of color than the 4. So you can always make that work for you by combining your colors. So our absolute lightest color is going to be RV10. So I'm going to do this front layer. This is the layer that has the most light on it, I guess you could say. So it's the lightest layer of the whole thing, and I'm just going to do RV10 on that layer. So one trick I want to show you is you don't have to color all of these pieces. See how there's only going to be a certain little spot of the second layer that's going to be showing. So I am constantly putting my pieces together and just seeing where I need to color because it's just a waste of your coloring to color places you don't need to. So I don't have to do much of this front part. A lot of times I do the edges just to make sure they don't show white, but that's all I have to do on this. And so remember, I did RV10 one time on the front. So this second layer of it, I'm going to do RV10 a couple, 2 or 3 times to get it just slightly darker. My next layer, this third layer here, is going to be RV10 plus my next color. I'll pop that up. So same as before, I'm using my pieces to figure out where I need my color. Part of these pieces will help you. They have a little bit of indentation or I guess embossing in them that helps you figure out where your coloring needs to go, which is really nice. But I'm using this RV23. I forgot to pop it up there for you, but it's RV23, and then I'm also coating it with RV10 to lighten the color some. So with Copics, you can lighten them with a lighter color over them. So here's how those 3 layers are looking. I am constantly holding them next to each other and trying to decide if I'm okay with the color variation. I felt like this was still a little bit too dark, so I'm going to go back in with the RV10 and lighten and blend it out just a little bit more just to soften it some. Okay, so this 4th piece has a lot of coloring. So I'm going to use RV23 and I'm going to do a couple coats of that. And remember, the layer before this is RV23 plus RV10. So it's lightened it up a little bit. So not only am I just going to use it, I want to do a couple of coats to make it just a little bit darker. Okay, so layer 5 is going to be RV23 plus RV25. So let's look at that. I'm going to start out with a lighter color this time and then coat it in the darker color. My darker color is RV25, so I'm going to go over this. Now you could do this the opposite way. You could start out with your dark color and then use your light color over it. Sometimes that gives you a little bit of kind of almost texture as you're fading out the other color. So there's definitely a different effect depending on which color you start with. I like starting with the light color on this section because you see how I only took my dark up partially on those petals. I didn't go all the way up, and it kind of makes the little edges of the petals look slightly lighter. So I'm just going in with these colors, making this match, and then we'll move to our next layer. Only 2 more layers of this flower, so now we're going to up the darkness. So we're going to do the RV25 for a couple of coats to make this darker than our last layer, which had a combination of colors together. So just straight RV25 for a couple coats, and then we'll move to the last layer. Okay, we're down to the last layer. This does not have a ton of coloring on it. You can see it's just got these couple of areas. So I'm going to make a couple dots to show myself where I'm coloring. And then I'm going to use my darkest color, the RV29. So we are about done with this flower, and I'm going to show you how I made the background to the card, and we'll move on. Here's how those flowers look put together. I did make 2 of them, but you can see it's just got so much detail, and they're thick and look amazing on the paper. Now for the background, I'm going to create an ombre background with 1 color, and my the card is actually going to be portrait versus landscape, but sometimes when I'm creating ombre, it's nice to start from one end and go across it. So I turned my page a different way to create this ombre effect, and basically I'm just laying down a ton of color at the bottom and slowly blending it out towards the top to where it gets lighter and lighter. Okay, so off camera I did a couple things. I splattered some water on the background, and I cut out of gold glitter cardstock my leaves. Now I'm looking at which sentiment I would like to use, and I usually do this just through the package of stamps. I feel like the "You Deserve a Beautiful Day" fits perfectly with this card, and that's what I'm going to use. So to put this card together, I glued the first flower down and put its leaves behind it, and that's just a liquid glue, so it's kind of easy to move it around if I need to. But this one, because it's so many layers of paper, you're going to need some foam tape behind your second one. So I'm going to add some foam tape, pop that down. So as I finished this card off, I got it done. I liked the way it looked, but I just felt like I wanted a little bit more bling. I thought about putting some sequins or something, but I decided I would just splatter it with some gold paint, and you can see that in these final pictures. Just took some metallic watercolor and splattered it on the project, and I think that just gave it its extra little kick. Thank you so much for joining me today for this fun video. Make sure that you subscribe to the ScrapbookPal channel, and everything that I used will be linked in the description. Have a great day. Bye!